The story begins with a boy named Luke, who is constantly harassed by some bullies at school. But they don't know that someone is watching him. His name is David, a former Special Forces soldier. When David discovers who's bothering Luke, he decides to teach them a lesson. He takes Luke and follows them to a bar. There, David cleverly orders drinks for everyone's girlfriends and cosmopolitan for the bullies. This enrages them all. One of them, in a fit of rage, throws a drink at David. But David just smiles and, to everyone's surprise, throws a fiery drink at them in return. David finds it impossible to let those who torment Luke go. He teaches them all a stern lesson and, upon escaping the flood, leaves them with the money for the damage. But the real truth is that David isn't actually Luke's real brother. He's Caleb's old comrade, who was recently killed in battle. Caleb's death has devastated the Peterson family. Father Spencer, Mother Laura, and their 2 children, Luke and Anna, are all deeply saddened. Meanwhile, one morning, when Spencer and Luke leave the house, Laura sits alone and sad. Suddenly, a gentle and calm-looking man comes to the door, calls her name, and says, "I knew your son, Caleb. We trained together and served in the army together. He was a good friend of mine." The man introduces himself as David Collins, a former sergeant in the U.S. Army. Laura invites him inside and offers him a drink. However, she harbors a slight misgiving. David explains that he spent several months in a military hospital due to his injuries and came here immediately after his discharge. David says, "I was with Caleb during his last moments. He asked me to meet his family and tell them that he loved them all very much." Hearing this, Laura breaks down and goes to the bathroom, sobbing profusely. When she returns, David shows her a photo of Caleb's unit. Seeing this, all of Laura's doubts are dispelled. David politely says that he should have called first and that he will leave now. But Laura stops him, saying that Anna would also like to meet him. Gradually, David gains Laura's trust with his polite and courteous nature. However, Anna still remains suspicious of him. David tells her that he is considering staying at a nearby motel. But Laura stops him and tells him to stay with us in Caleb's old room. Anna then leaves for work, and Laura shows David the guest room. She assures him she has no objection to him using Caleb's room and then leaves him alone. As Laura leaves the room, David's face suddenly becomes strange and mysterious. Meanwhile, Luke is again harassed by bullies at school, but he lacks the courage to confront them. When Laura comes to pick him up from school, Luke acts as if nothing has happened. At home, David slowly integrates into the Peterson family's life. Meanwhile, an argument breaks out between Spencer and Laura. Spencer angrily retorts that if this guy has a problem like PTSD, many soldiers return and struggle with mental health issues. He fears that David's calm and friendly demeanor might be hiding a dangerous side. Meanwhile, David notices bruises on Luke's face, but Luke lies, saying they were caused by a football hit in gym class. After a brief conversation, Spencer angrily storms out of the house, and Laura tells Luke to study. Meanwhile, David helps Luke with his studies and praises his intelligence, which boosts Luke's confidence. In the evening, Anna returns from work, but her attitude toward David remains cold and suspicious. Later that night, Spencer and David begin talking over beers and watching a football match. Gradually, Spencer opens up and tells David that he's struggling with job and financial stress. He's most upset that his younger colleague, a newcomer to the company, became manager simply because he has a degree. Even though he's been working hard for 4 years, he hasn't received a promotion. Laura's worries about money add to the tension at home. David mentions that he's thinking of moving to Florida to work in construction. But Spencer immediately stops him, saying, "That's crazy. You don't even know where you're going. Stay here for a few more days." Gradually, Spencer also begins to like David. When Spencer goes to get another beer, David's expression suddenly becomes dark and mysterious. Soon, David becomes a support for the family. He even picks Luke up from school in Laura's place and eliminates his biggest problem, school bullies. This causes Luke to trust David completely. But Anna and David's relationship remains a bit complicated. That same evening, Laura is forced to ask Anna to take David with her to a Halloween party. While getting ready, Anna thinks Luke is in the bathroom. But as soon as she opens the door, there's David standing there, half-dressed. Seeing his perfect body, Anna becomes embarrassed and begins to feel embarrassed. Reluctantly, Anna takes him with her to the party, a party is being held at her friend Kristen's house. Anna reveals that her boyfriend is Sheik. David promises not to tell anyone. At the party, David impresses all his friends with his smart personality. Meanwhile, Anna goes to meet her boyfriend, Jike. Just then, Kristen is harassed by her angry ex-boyfriend, Drew. David intervenes and beats Drew severely. Kristen is so impressed by his bravery that she later spends the night with David. But she doesn't know that this man harbors a dangerous secret. During the party, David asks Craig about buying guns. When Craig asks him why, David laughs and says, "I'm a soldier. I like guns." Meanwhile, he notices Anna and Jike fighting. Filled with anger and sadness, Anna decides to leave the party midway, and David takes over driving. On the way, Anna vents her frustration that Jike has no ambition, even though she herself is saving for college. She says he doesn't even have a job. David compliments her, saying, "If I had a girl like you, I would never have gone to war. Why would I go to the Middle East to get shot if I had you?" Hearing this, Anna softens slightly and, delighted by a song playing on the radio, says she will build a mixed staircase for David. Returning home, Anna actually begins building the staircase. But at the same time, David sits quietly in his room, his face looking menacing and mysterious. That same day, Anna accidentally overhears David talking loudly on the phone to an unknown person. The call is actually from Luke. The conversation reveals that David is making dangerous demands, such as a new face and fingers from a plastic surgeon. He says, "I'm missing right now, but some people are looking for me." Hearing this, Anna becomes deeply suspicious. She immediately calls the military base to verify David's true identity. She says, "His name is David Anderson Collins. If you need help, I can even tell you his unit." But this call triggers an alert, and a private military contractor company, now called PG, begins pursuing David. Gradually, the real truth emerges. David is actually a test subject for a special military project, who was considered dead in official records. When Major Richard Carver, the head of the project, learns that David Peterson is with his family, he immediately forms a special forces team and plans to track him down. Meanwhile, David meets with Craig and his partner to buy guns. As soon as he shows the cash, Craig's partner happily shows off all the firearms and explains, "This is a standard Beretta. You know what you're looking for. I think if you've seen it, all the others are the same." But David thinks nothing of it and announces that he'll take all the weapons and grenades. Hearing this, both men are delighted. But their happiness is short-lived. Without hesitation, David immediately kills them both with his handgun and takes their weapons and grenades. Meanwhile, Laura receives updates about David from the military base and tries to tell her. But Spencer returns home and interrupts her. At the same time, it's revealed that Spencer's boss and his girlfriend have died under strange circumstances. They had taken a large number of prescription pills together. It appears they committed suicide. Interestingly, this tragedy opened the door for Spencer to receive a sudden promotion and a pay raise. A short while later, Anna receives a call from Zick informing her that Crack had been murdered. Anna is devastated by this news and rushes to Kristen's restaurant to seek solace. Meanwhile, at home, David and Luke sit on the porch and carve pumpkins for Halloween. David finds his kitchen knife dull, so he takes out his Swiss Army knife and cuts the pumpkin in one swift motion. Luke, surprised, asks, "Do you always carry this with you?" David smiles and says, "Yes, always." Meanwhile, Anna, after the party, sits at Kristen's restaurant and tells her the shocking information she received from the military. Anna says, "I was told that David Collins died a week ago. He died in a fire at a military hospital in Arizona." This strange coincidence further fuels Anna's suspicions. Kristen suggests that Anna ask Luke to check the numbers in David's phone call history. Meanwhile, David and Luke return home after cutting a pumpkin. David teaches Luke how to escape from the police, telling him to protect himself if they attack you. Don't be afraid of what they can do. Sometimes you have to protect yourself. David then gifts Luke his Swiss Army knife. At the same time, Anna returns home and acts as if nothing has happened. She quietly picks up David's phone and goes to her room. She then turns on loud music and takes a photo of the phone call history. Then, David's phone suddenly rings, and Anna panics. To avoid being caught, she quickly throws the phone on the bed and runs into her room. David appears in the hallway, his face stern and serious. Hearing the faint ring of his phone, he heads straight for his room. He picks up the phone. Deep inside, he feels a deep sense of doubt. David stands outside Anna's room for a while, perhaps trying to eavesdrop, but all he can hear is loud music from behind the door. Anna remains silent, holding her breath the entire time, and only emerges calmly when David leaves. A short while later, Anna receives a call from Jick. She learns that Jick has been arrested by the authorities. He is accused of murdering Craig and his partner because the gun used in the murders was found in his van. Anna, distraught, says, "But he's innocent." Jick explains that more things were found during a search of the room. This news completely shatters Anna, and she feels as if her world is collapsing, and everything starts with David's appearance. Anna talks to her family about this. Her mother understands her concern. But Spencer doesn't seem serious at all. He says, "You want to know why Jake was arrested for murder? Because he probably did." Spencer has always been against Jake. That's why Anna kept their relationship a secret. The father and daughter's argument escalates. Anna then reveals what she heard from the military about David. "I called the military base where he said he was. They said he was dead." David calmly confirms her suspicions. He explains that he was actually part of a special forces unit and that the military had provided a cover story for him to appear to the civilian population. He then proves his true identity by showing his military name tag. Spencer disagrees with David's assertion and, angered by Anna, demands her forgiveness. David, feigning innocence, begins to explain to the Peterson family that it was just a misunderstanding. Anna is lost in thought when David suddenly appears in the room. She freezes in fear, thinking David might do something bad. Initially, David speaks softly. "I just want to say I'm sorry about the crack." He promises to leave the house in a few days. As David starts to leave, he notices the mixed ladder Anna had made for him. Without a second thought, he makes a happy face and says, "Thank you. I can't wait to hear this." Meanwhile, Richard heads to the airport and assembles a team to apprehend David. He says, "I want every private contractor within a 100-mile radius ready by the time I land." Anna investigates and discovers that David was calling Peter Borden, a plastic surgeon in Miami whose license was revoked 2 years ago. She asks Luke for help to gather more information about David. Anna asks, "Do you really think David killed Craig and his friend?" Luke, though a little skeptical, agrees to help her. Meanwhile, at school, Luke is once again targeted by the police. This time, he defends himself and punches one of them. Both are called to the principal's office. Meanwhile, David arrives at school with Laura to meet the principal. David is delighted to learn that Luke took his advice and fought the police. Due to the school's rules against violence, the principal decides to expel Luke. Using his cleverness and knowledge of the law, David blackmails the principal and forces him to give Luke only 1 month's detention. Luke, feeling grateful, tells David that Anna is planning to report him to the authorities because of her suspicions. Luke says she thinks he's cracked and is building a case with the police. David initially takes it lightly. But when Luke reveals that he knows David is impersonating the real Collins and seeking help from a plastic surgeon, David's face immediately turns serious. Luke promises not to investigate further and won't tell anyone. Furthermore, David learns that Anna has told Kristen about him. Meanwhile, David helps Laura and helps her with the laundry. Laura sincerely thanks him for his help and support of the family. David feels a little uneasy and goes to get the rest of the laundry. But the real truth comes out when Richard and his team arrive at the Peterson home, and a violent confrontation ensues. Richard doesn't have a chance to explain the situation to Laura when David returns with the LDR, and a fierce shootout ensues between the two sides. Despite his leg injury, David tries to escape but runs into Laura in the kitchen. When Laura asks him about his true identity, David reveals that he and Caleb were in the same program. With a hidden knife in his hand, David now considers killing Laura. But Laura suddenly reveals his location. In a rage, David stabs her. In the meantime, David has killed all the team members except Richard. While fleeing in the car, he collides with Spencer and shoots him. Despite being injured during the struggle, David continues on his mission to eliminate all loose. When Richard's car tires get punctured, he borrows a civilian's car to pick up Anna from a diner. A short while later, David arrives at the diner looking for Anna, but she is gone. And angry. In the video, David shoots and kills Kristen and blows up the diner with a grenade. After the phone call, Richard decides to find Luke. He explains that David was part of a top-secret military medical program, an advanced behavioral conditioning program designed to create perfect soldiers. David set the testing facility on fire, killing everyone present and burning his body so the world would think he was dead. Luke is serving detention at the school's recreation center and helping with prom preparations. He is about to answer Anna's call when the teacher stops him from using his phone and confiscates it. On the way, Anna and Richard see police cars and fire trucks heading in the opposite direction. Richard then tells Anna that the restaurant was attacked and it was reported as an explosion. Anna discovers that David has killed her parents. In fear and anger, she sets out to find David. While he cuts the power to the school, Anna plays the mixer and wreaks his final havoc. Panic and fear grip the halls, and David stabs Luke's teacher and Richard with a box cutter. Initially, Luke doesn't believe David could be so dangerous. But when he learns the truth about his parents' murder, he becomes terrified. Anna, in revenge, shoots David, causing him to fall. But David suddenly stabs her in the leg. As the bullet detonates and the fire erupts, David begins to strangle her. Finally, Luke stabs David with the knife he gave him, saving Anna. The wounded David tells Luke, "You did the right thing," and gives him a thumbs up before collapsing. In the end, Anna and Luke sit outside the ambulance, bloodied and in shock. But alive. And the film ends with this scene.